long before flowers ever bloomed, before bees danced through petals or birds sang in forests, the earth was a very different place. Swamps stretched for miles, dark and nutrient-starved. The air was thick, the soil poor, and the plants, they were desperate. Desperate enough to turn predator. Yes, some plants looked at the bugs buzzing by, and instead of feeding them nectar, they fed on them. This is the story of one of evolution's strangest twists. How the gentle green leaf became a killer. How some plants began eating meat and never looked back. Before we dive into the ancient bogs and evolutionary mysteries, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Science Beyond the Lab, and share this story with someone who thinks plants are boring. They won't after this. At first glance, it sounds like science fiction. A plant eating an animal, that's supposed to be backwards, isn't it? We think of plants as passive, rooted, innocent. They photosynthesize, make oxygen, provide food. But nature doesn't care about expectations. She cares about survival. And in some of the most inhospitable places on Earth, that survival required innovation. Carnivorous plants don't grow where it's easy. They appear in nutrient-poor environments, acidic bogs, rocky plateaus, sandy wetlands, places where nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the building blocks of life, are hard to find. And so, nature made a trade. Photosynthesis plus predation, the best of both worlds. Over millions of years, ordinary leaves twisted and mutated into traps. So how did it happen? How does a plant go from passive photosynthesizer to insect assassin? It begins with a problem: poor soil. No matter how much sunlight a plant captures, if the ground beneath offers no nitrogen, growth stalls. Imagine being trapped in a beautiful prison. Green light, clean water, but nothing to feed your cells. So some plants got creative. They didn't grow deeper roots. They didn't move to richer lands. Instead, they turned upward and started catching what flew by. The earliest forms of plant carnivory began with sticky hairs. These were first used for protection, to catch pollen or deter pests. But sometimes, an insect would land, get stuck, and decay. And in that decay, the plant absorbed nutrients. Accident became advantage. Over time, these sticky hairs evolved into the sundews tentacles. Flat leaves became folded jaws. Pits deepened into pitchers. Water sacs shrunk into bladder traps. Incredible as it seems, carnivory evolved independently at least a dozen times in plant history. Different species, different continents, same solution: eat to survive. It's an example of convergent evolution, when separate species evolve the same trait to solve the same problem. Nature, once again, showing her mathematical elegance. But how did plants pull it off, genetically? When scientists studied the DNA of carnivorous plants, they discovered something fascinating. Carnivorous plants didn't invent new genes. They repurposed old ones. Genes used for digesting pathogens, for defending leaves were transformed into enzymes that could digest insects. It's like rewriting a cookbook to turn a cleaning recipe into a marinade. Efficiency at its finest. And in many species, evolution also simplified their genomes. Carnivorous plants often lost unnecessary genes, like those for making big flowers or complex roots. Why? Because when you start feeding on animals, you don't need to fight for the same things. Some species lost 25% of their genome just to become better hunters. Imagine shedding parts of your identity just to evolve a single trait. That's the sacrifice these plants made. To give up their normal plant life and become something extraordinary. And yet, a question lingers. Why these plants? Why in these places? Why become a predator at all? Scientists still debate the full picture. Some believe it began during periods of climate instability, when wet lowlands dried up and nutrient flow collapsed. Others think it was insect pressure, bugs eating leaves, pollinating others, but not helping these early species. So the plants flipped the script. They stopped playing host and became hunters. It's also still unclear how fast carnivory evolved. Fossils of carnivorous plants are rare. Soft bodies don't preserve well, but ancient amber traps give us hints. A 40-million-year-old pitcher plant, fossil from Baltic amber. A 60-million-year-old ancestor to sundews in Africa. Still, most of what we know comes from modern genetics. And those genetics reveal just how radical this path was. No other group of plants made the leap to animal eating with such diversity. Venus flytraps, sundews, pitcher plants, bladderworts, butterworts. Hundreds of species. A dozen trap styles. One evolutionary revolution. And perhaps most curious of all, why did it never go further? Why no plant that eats large animals? Why no walking carnivorous plants? Some science fiction stories play with these ideas. But nature, it seems, found her balance. The size of the prey fits the energy budget. Anything more is fantasy. Still, the question burns. Was there ever a larger predator plant in prehistory? Or have we yet to find it? Carnivorous plants aren't just relics of the past. They're still evolving. As climates shift and insects migrate, these plants adapt. Some pitcher plants now rely more on mutualism. Letting mammals or frogs poop in their cups, trading traps for partnerships. Others are becoming specialists, evolving traps for just one type of prey. And in laboratories, scientists are studying how their genes might help us solve human problems. Natural pest control, biodegradable adhesives, fast-action bio-robots modeled after Flytrap snaps. There's even interest in understanding how these plants manage memory-like functions. The way a Venus flytrap counts touches before it decides to close. Could such simple brains teach us about complex machines? Maybe. Maybe not. But one thing's certain. The story of carnivorous plants is far from over. As we preserve their habitats, and protect their diversity, we continue to learn from their quiet genius. They are a mirror of nature's most important lesson. Adapt or perish, even if it means becoming something unthinkable, like a plant that eats meat. From the acidic bogs of Earth's past to the clean glass of modern labs, these plants have carried their evolutionary secret, silently, patiently, for millions of years. They don't roar. They don't run. They simply wait. And when the moment is right, they eat. So, now we know how it happened. We know why some plants turned to meat. But in our next and final episode, we'll uncover the strangest stories ever told about them. Forgotten experiments, man-eating myths, mysterious behaviors scientists still don't understand. Coming up in Part 3, Mysteries of Carnivorous Plants, Strange Survival Stories. You won't believe what's been found inside some of these traps. Like this video? Drop a comment below. Would you eat a plant that eats animals? Let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Science Beyond the Lab, because nature's stories are just getting started.